Oh, did someone just mention car design? Let's talk about that in this video, guys. This is a Bugatti Divo. It is legit my all-time favorite gas vehicle. The reason why I say gas is because I feel like you need to start separating car categories now. ICE vehicles, internal combustion vehicles, and electric vehicles. And so for my favorite car of all time being a gas vehicle will be the Bugatti Divo, and Bugatti is pretty much my all-time favorite car brand. As far as an electric vehicle, of course, it's gonna be the Tesla Roadster. I haven't seen one yet in person, but I can imagine from everything that I've seen, it's gonna be absolutely freaking sane. And you know what? I do have hopes and dreams to one day own a Tesla Roadster, and I am going to aspire to get one. But the first thing before I get a nice car is that I have to have some sort of a garage. So I'm gonna buy a condo or a house with a garage because I'm not parking my Tesla Roadster on the street or outside at all. But you guys watch, I'm gonna get a Roadster eventually. Probably not gonna be anytime soon. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it will come sometime. You guys watch. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. This is gonna be a commenter in the last video, and I received 23 comments in the last video, and I appreciate and I read every single one. So any of you guys who commented in the last video, thank you so much. It is giving me motivation to make videos. And so for this video is going to be dedicated to my man Emilio's question. And the question is, what advice would you give to someone who is in school for industrial design, but their goal is to become a car designer? This question hit me so straight to the core because it literally was my path before I became an industrial designer. And you know, it's interesting too that the class that I taught, there were some students in there that wanted to pursue industrial design. And this, you know, I never really thought about creating a video on what advice I would give to industrial designers that want to be car designers. So I'm gonna try my best. Again, guys, I'm not a car designer myself. I've never landed a job where I design cars or anywhere near it, okay? But knowing what I know now, there are probably some things that I would have done while going to school to really increase my chances to become a car designer. And I'm gonna mention certain things that I think if you fall into this category of you're in industrial design but wanna be car designers, there are certain things that you should know right off the bat, okay? Okay, so let's just start all of this off. Let's set the stage, okay? So car design and industrial design are pretty much the same thing, okay? Industrial design is literally the design of everyday products. And so this can fall into a lot of major categories, okay? There is consumer electronics, that's something that I design, okay? There's sporting goods, like designing golf drivers, I've done that too. Or, you know, just designing footballs or tennis rackets and stuff like that, okay? And then there are, you know, furniture design where you could design tables and chairs, there's fashion, there's footwear, there's a ton of different categories that you can fall into. And school is going to teach you very generalized, very fundamental skills about designing a product from scratch and doing your best in creating an awesome product of whatever category that you decide to go into. So again, for me, I found myself in consumer electronics. That is another deep passion of mine. I always grew up loving consumer electronics. I would always open them up, look inside. I always loved just like using headphones and knowing what the latest and greatest phone was and looking at all these beautiful laptops and Mac computers. And I followed that religiously when I was young. And so I just completely loved consumer electronics. And so what ends up happening is that when you graduate school and you find yourself in whatever field it is, it could be lighting, you know, eventually you will learn how that industry works, the processes of what it takes to develop this type of product in the most efficient way, okay? And you learn that in the real world. Whereas when you're going to school for a specific category, like let's say fashion design, or let's say footwear design, or let's say car design, what you're doing is you're starting off learning a very specific category when it comes to consumer products, okay? So right away, those students that went to school for car design, immediately they are becoming extremely specialized when it comes to how to go about designing a car. So immediately I feel like that puts them at an advantage compared to an industrial designer who's learning a lot of different skills, but not specifically focused in car design, whereas the other student only designing cars. And not only are they only designing cars, but they're also being taught by other car designers who probably have, had a career in car design that are teaching them, molding them to be a great car designer, okay? So that's something that you should definitely start to realize as you go about pursuing car design in industrial design. Now, would I say it is probable for you to become a car designer? Probably not. Hey. I'm not here to discourage you at all. I'm just here to give you some facts, but I do encourage you to try to become a car designer if that is what you want to do, okay? But please just be real about it. And the reason why I say it's probably not probable is because I have gone to school with a lot of students. A lot of these students did want to pursue car design, and they loved cars, and they drew cars all the time, just like me when I was a young kid. And did they find themselves in the car industry? Not really, okay? When I follow them today, when I see the job that they're doing, when I talk to them, none of them has fallen into actual car design. Some of them have gotten really close. Like one of my buddies, he works at Honda, but he doesn't design cars. He's actually, I think, considered a product manager. Another buddy of mine, he's probably the closest one, where he used to do a lot of fabrication and model making, and so he would actually design a lot of prototypes of cars. So he would be the one really doing a lot of the dirty work, doing the sanding, doing all the shaping of, car prototypes. So I think he worked on the Toyota FRS when it was first launched way back, but he worked on that prototype. And so those two are the only designers that I know that had an industrial design background and now are doing something in the car industry. So it's not impossible, I would say. And if these are the things that you should know, which I think you should really know them. They're not to discourage you in any way, please know that. But I think that it would be beneficial for you to know that so that you can work even harder as you move along on this path. There's something about a car also where I feel like the product of a car, so not just a car, but the product of a car, I feel like this type of a product emphasizes design and aesthetics to its fullest extent. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when you look at a car, and when you think about what a car actually means, it's all about its emotion and its looks. And people always look at the front and the side and the back, and they're always judging these cars when you go into the interior. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Is it user friendly? The design of a car is so emphasized. And so people a lot of the time buy cars just based off of the way that they look and how it makes them feel, okay? So this is another nugget of information that you should really take in. Whereas, let's say if you were designing like consumer electronics, it could look good, but a lot of it, looks could just be about 20% of consumer electronics, and the other percent could just be the way it works and the technology of it and materials of it. But with the car, it's really, the design is just emphasized to the fullest degree more than any other product. There's something about a car that just makes an industrial designer giddy, okay? So when you're designing your products, always keep that in mind, that the look of the vehicle and the emotion of the vehicle is going to be extremely important, okay? More than just any other product. So what that means is that you better be good at what you're doing. What I've seen is that some industrial designers that want to pursue cars, if you're just a so-so industrial designer, you still can make it in the industrial design field. You can bounce from one category to another. You can do a lot of different things. But if you're an industrial designer trying to make your way into the car design field, you really have to be extremely good to even think about competing with all of these other students who are going to school specifically for car design, and that is what and that is all that they're doing, okay? So please get that, is that you're competing with them and all they're doing is learning about how to design cars 24/7, taught by instructors that probably design cars themselves, okay? So there is absolutely no doubt that you need to just be undeniably good, okay? Does that logically make sense to you guys? You know, you can't just be a so-so car designer and competing and trying to make your way into the car design business and try to compete with all these other students, okay? So just recognize that already, okay? You have to be undeniably good, okay? So let's talk about the process of designing a car and how you could go about crafting some of your industrial design projects and making them about the subject of designing vehicles, okay? So when you're designing a car, don't just think only about the aesthetics, of course. A car is, of course, at the end of the day, a product that people are gonna use. So you need to really define what you're designing. Don't just say, I'm designing a supercar, I'm designing an SUV. You gotta really set a lot of parameters, like you gotta know how many rows should this have? Is this going to be a very futuristic car, or is it only going to be a car that's going to be coming out? Is it a concept car or is it not? You know, what are specific features that this car does where other cars don't? Like this is going even way past just the design of car and really figuring out what you are designing. And this is really going to help you a lot because what I'm trying to get you to avoid is that I don't want you to just have this very superficial portfolio where look at all these pretty shapes and pretty looking and cool cars that I have in your portfolio, but there's no really deep substance of what this product is about and if you have really put a lot of thought into the user experience of this car, you know? And so when you're designing a car, don't just go ahead and start sketching a car. First, you have to sketch, well, how is you have to almost design from the inside out. How is the driver and the passengers are gonna sit? What position are they gonna be first? Because, you know, if they're in a certain position, that will dictate how the car is gonna be shaped. You have to really start with the groundwork first, okay? And also, since a car is so large, it's a lot larger than, say, any kind of consumer electronic or any kind of sporting good or even any kind of furniture piece, you know? A car is a very large product, so you need to really understand sense of scale, you know, and the size of how big a car really is gonna be, okay? Think about how cars are mechanically put together. I don't want you to have this superficial portfolio where you're just having these beautiful, pretty shapes and speed forms and stuff like that. Really think about the mechanics of how fenders and body panels are put on a car, you know, and how does a trunk lid open and just different kind of mechanics and technologies that cars have. Because, you know, when you look at a car designer's portfolio, a lot of the times they just have all these pretty pictures of cars, but you really want to have that substance and that will really set your portfolio apart from the rest, okay? And then another thing that you have to deal with if you're going to school for industrial design, but you want to design cars, is that you're gonna be given a lot of different type of projects where they're not gonna be car related. And so you have to have another job where you're negotiating with your professors and you gotta really tell them your intentions. You gotta say, you know, Professor Jimmy, I really want to design cars. I understand that your projects are going to be, maybe not related to cars, but if there's a way where I can work with you to where I can somehow design a car because that's really what I want to do, you got to work with the professor. And so when I was teaching my class, there were some students in that class that wanted to design cars, and I really worked with them and allowed them to do what they wanted to do. Now, I'm not a car designer, so I can see that they struggled a little bit, especially since a car is such a major product. There's so many different things that go into a car, and so designing a whole car versus designing something that is this big, that's a major task to do, okay? So one way to get around this is don't always think that you have to design the whole car, okay? Maybe there are some projects where you could only design parts of a car. Maybe you could only design a steering wheel or a rear view mirror, possibly a, side mirrors or a door handle or the bumper itself or a headlight, tail lights, certain things like this. Car designers, it's pretty rare, even if you are a car designer, for you to be in the position where you're designing the whole car, the whole vibe of the car and how all the lines fit together. A lot of the times there are designers that only are working on specific parts. So when you're going about selecting what you want to design for your industrial design projects, maybe think about designing certain things like that, okay? Just specific parts, really get into the details of that part. And I think that that will also enhance your probability of becoming a car designer. All right, guys, last couple of things. What I would also recommend to you guys is to try your best to always seek out specific training when it comes to car design. If there is something, a class that you can take, a special class that is only teaching car design, maybe there's another school that's just around the corner or a couple of cities away that you can take a couple classes, go ahead and take those specific car design training classes. They're going to teach you things that industrial design professors don't know. For instance, at Art Center, they actually offered some classes at night. They weren't the full-on curriculum, but they were just one-off classes that you could sign up, and it probably cost like around $800 from what I remember at the time. And they're taught by a professor from Art Center that is a car designer himself or herself, and so they can teach you things that industrial design professors can't teach you. Or maybe if you don't have that resource, you could have to go online and maybe sign up for some kind of specific course like that. So I think doing something like that would be very beneficial. And another thing, guys, is to also know what you want to do when it comes to car design. Car design is a very broad thing. There's a lot of different parts, as we talked about. So really think about, do you want to do exterior design? Is that something that you're really interested in? Or maybe you just want to be an interior designer. You just love interiors. Well, don't go ahead and build your whole portfolio all around exterior design if you want to design interiors. All the different materials, different parts, the user experience, the seat positions, all of these little things is going to matter and really build up that beautiful, nice portfolio. Okay, and the very last thing too, guys, what I have to say is understand what programs car designers use. So from my very little knowledge of what they use, from what I've seen from job listings, they use a 3D program called Alias. So Alias is really awesome when it comes to creating beautiful, nice surfaces. And that just seems like the staple program that I've seen car designers use when creating their designs. They don't use the standard SolidWorks as what I use or what general industrial designers use. So don't take my word on it. Always keep that in the back of your mind. Alias, that's the program. But do your own research and figure out what programs car designers are using. So that's pretty much all the advice I can give to the young 22-year-old me if I was back in school and really trying my best to pursue car design, transportation design, and really hope it really, could help you guys out with your car design pursuits. I really hope that you can do it. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions left for me. If you appreciated this video, video and you learned a thing or two, definitely go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. It really help me out. Let's hopefully try to get this video to 100 thumbs up. That would be pretty awesome. All right, guys, and if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, my name is Jimmy, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.